Ghettoman here. I've got an urgent message. The Democratic Party has become irreversibly corrupt. It's nothing. It doesn't even resemble anything of the party when I was a young man. You know, the party was basically for the working guy to make sure that the corporations and the big companies didn't abuse the worker. It helped them, secure a position where they weren't exploited and treated unfairly. But since then, the United States government federally has passed all kinds of laws dealing with employment, employees, employee relationships, and all that stuff. In fact, there's so many laws out there that protect the employee now that there really isn't any purpose in having unions anymore. So over the time, the Democratic Party has changed, and I mean it has radically changed. It has become really the socialist, communist, fascist party. I mean, the main goal of the Democratic Party, or should I say the Socialist, Communist, Fascist Party, I don't even know why they use the word Democrat. Of course, I guess that's because everybody that's involved in it is dishonest. But its main goal is to overthrow the United States Constitution. There's just no question that's their goal. I mean, everything they do, they attack everything that everybody else is doing, and then accuse them, as I said before, accuse everybody that they're opposing. They accuse them of what they're doing. I mean, it's an old trick, but it for some reason it still seems to work. Well, anyway, this YouTube channel, we just started it 25 days ago. And overall, the shows, we've already have done well in the number of 650 hits just in 25 days. Now, everybody I talk to says that's not bad for starting out, especially when nobody even knows who you are. It's kind of hard to get out the gate. But everything has really been extremely positive. I mean, it's been thumbs up all the way. It seems like people are really, really hungry for this information. And for the first time in my life, I've been able to get this information out, like I've never been able to get it out before. And I can feel that this thing is going to really take off. And as we learn how to, we get more professional shows, and we learn how to handle our equipment a little bit better. And as time goes on here, we hope that, that we're going to have something here that's going to be a really valuable tool for those people who really want to educate themselves and be able to understand what's going on. Well, we're doing this out of our own hip pocket. There's no, we have nobody sponsors us, and not that we want anybody to. But if I were going to ask any of my listeners, or our listeners, if I were going to ask you anything, I would just ask you to help us get this information out. Everybody that's listened to it and the comments that we've had have just been, it's like they're hungry for this type of information. They've been lied to so much by the lamestream media and the one party with two names, the Demo-Republican Nazis. And I'm right now I'm focusing on the Democrats. And the reason why I'm doing it is because, like I said, the party is irreversibly corrupt. It's the most corrupt thing I've ever seen. It's just filled with the most filthy, vile, and disgusting people I've ever seen in my entire life. And their goals are not here. They don't care about the American people. They always say, oh, well, the other side doesn't care about the American people. But I'll tell you what, Democrats don't care about anything at all. In fact, if you were to go ahead and Google it, you'll find out that the Democratic Party is the party of the rich. It's always been the party of the rich. It's not the party of the people. It's the stinking rich. There are more millionaires in the Democratic Party than there are in the Republican Party. And there's a lot of them there because, as we said, the left doesn't just extend to the Democratic Party, it extends all the way into the Republican Party as well. That's why you've seen the Republican Party has done nothing, didn't do anything to help President Trump in his campaign. They didn't give him a dime. He had to do it all himself. It was really a grassroots type of situation. Anyway, it's just we are at a war right now. The Democrats, their socialist, communist, fascist position is a domestic enemy. You know, you're either going to support the Constitution and its constitutional republic, its Republican form of government, and you're going to follow the laws as mandated in our contract, the United States Constitution, or you're not. And if you're not doing that, then you are the enemy. We have a domestic enemy. We have a coup d'etat. It's a political one, to be sure, at this point. But it's a coup d'etat nevertheless. They're taking over the country from within. Okay? Now, I have a bit of good news. I just ran across an article. I pop onto the Drudge Report this morning. And it was like a first or second article that was posted there. And it says, know your U.S. Constitution, ? More states look to teach it. It says, should U.S. high school students know know as much about the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Federalist Papers as immigrants passing an American citizen test? Well, of course they should. They should know everything about it. That should be the main thing that is taught in the government full system. They should be teaching the Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence. They should be teaching all the history, right back to the Magna Carta, so people can see how American English and American jurisprudence, got where it got today. But they haven't been. They've been practicing the 10th plank of the Communist Manifesto and filling the kids full of socialist, communist, fascist bullshit. Anyway, it says lawmakers in other states, including Minnesota, are hoping to foster even deeper understanding of the fundamentals of American democracy. There's the word. See, we're talking about brainwashing here. American democracy by adding a full course to study its most important documents. Well, if they did that, they sure as heck would not use American democracy. Do you see how brainwashed this is? I mean, even here's an article. They're talking about teaching the Constitution in schools, and they sit there and refer to it as a democracy. Going on in the article here, it says, when you have a system of government that's based on ideas espoused by the Declaration of Independence and carried out with a working document of the Constitution, these ideas need to be taught. They sure as heck do. And see, that's what we're doing here at the issue, is we're really trying to, right now, I mean, we have got the enemy on the run. These people are starting to look at this issue. They're starting to understand that we're not a democracy. We're starting to understand the Democrats. Look at them, how they've gone completely crazy. I mean, wasn't it Hillary Rodham Clinton when she was running for office was saying we got to watch out for the Republican Party because these people, if they don't win, are going to go crazy and they won't have a peaceful transition? Well, look at there's no peaceful transition here. The Democrats with Schumer and Pelosi and Walters and all the rest of them, and they're all there. It's almost like they're trying to cover up some kind of crimes that they're doing. The way they're acting. And maybe there is. Maybe Trump is arresting a lot of pedophiles right now, and these pedophile rings go to the top. The scum always rises to the top. And it's not just in our country, it's global. And I often wonder, why are these people fighting so hard to get a judge on the Supreme Court that said he would apply the law? Not interpret it, he would apply the law. I mean, isn't that what we want? And they're saying, no, we can't have this guy. When both sides of the aisle voted him in, I believe it was he was in a appellate court, unanimously. He was okay for that unanimously. Now that he's going to be in the United States Supreme Court, where they might, rule against things like pedophilia, or they might rule against, welfare systems and other socialist, communist, fascist programs that the Democrats and the Republicans, but mainly the Democrats, they're the ones that push everything. They push race baiting. They push everything dealing with every violent, disgusting group there is, from the KKK to La Raza. Anyway, the article also goes on and says, we clearly have seen there's a serious civics deficiency in this country, all the way up to the top, the very top. Survival of the republic, and they use the word republic in there, depends on Americans understanding its principles and history. So this is why I've come to you today with this urgent message, because I personally, we here at the issue, we really, really need your help. And, I've been doing this for over 40 years. And it's been very difficult because the way we had to do it, having seminars and making VHS tapes and that sort of thing, and then it's having the seminars and selling the tapes, and people making copies of them and getting them around. That's where I was involved. I mean, it was really difficult. Most of the time when we had the seminars, I'd look out into the audience and I could see the same faces that I did when I was in the last city. They just seemed to, follow us around. We really weren't reaching a whole lot of people. And then the ones that they did reach, most people, what they think, well, what can I do about it? Well, today we have the internet. We have the, this YouTube, where we can all create our own little television stations, more or less. And then we're able to go ahead and get the information out with very little cost or overhead. I mean, a computer system, some lights, and some mixing boards, things like that. They're really not a huge expense nowadays. You don't have to make it a huge expense. I mean, you can buy super high quality equipment, or you can buy stuff that's not quite as high, but you can still get the job done. I've seen people do a pretty good job of it. So anyway, I'm here and I'm asking you, and I'm not pleading with you, but I am asking you if you would please share as many of the videos as you possibly can. I think that once people start to get an idea of how it's supposed to work, and we're talking about stuff, we're getting into we're going to split hairs here, and we're going to be able to really show people that this is how it works. And then I'm telling you, you want to have a strong citizenry, you want to have people who can really make changes and get rid of all this Demo-Republic Nazi garbage, is people who are educated and informed. People who really understand what's going on. I know there's going to be people out there that love the system where they can, feed off of the trough and wag their little piggy tails, without having to lift a finger or to do anything productive. But that doesn't last long. Sooner or later, all socialists learn, communists learn that you always run out of other people's money, and then you got a problem. Anyway, the only way that we can beat these traitors, and when I say that, I mean both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, is by sharing valid information. Look around you. People are waking up. I've never seen this in my life. I've never seen such an awakening. And that's where we're going to win this thing. Because when people are finally looking for some answers, and then they see that, holy cow, the system isn't working, everything is screwed up because we're not following the Constitution at all. And that's all we hired these public servants to do. That's all we hired them to do. And what have they done? They say, okay, we don't care about that. We're going to usurp all the power we possibly can. We're going to put all of our communist, socialist, fascist people in the courts and in the legislature and get them into the executive branch. And what we're going to do is we're just going to run roughshod over the sovereigns and just tell them that this is how it's going to be, whether you like it or not. And I know most people deep down inside, I mean, you can feel it in your gut that something's wrong. You can feel that no matter what they say, that can't be right. And they just keep doing it anyway. They just keep doing it anyway. They ignore everything. You know why they ignore everything? Because they know that the people are not educated. That they are the ones that programmed us. That's why we're in the mess that we're in. And I'm telling you, this is a war. This is a war just like a hot war. We hope it never gets to the point where it's a hot war, but we are at war. These people want to throw this country, they want to throw the Constitution out, and they want to throw this country into a third world banana republic. So it's time to fight back. And right now, knowledge is a weapon. Hitler once said, she said that, there's a InfoWars war out there, and we're losing the war. And we have things like, there's a show called InfoWars, or a website called InfoWars with Alex Jones. And I followed Alex Jones from the back there when we didn't even have any video. It was just audio. And most of the time I had to wait for it to buffer for 10 minutes just to hear 2 or 3 minutes of whatever he had to say. But the one thing that I did when I was dealing with Alex Jones or listening to Alex Jones is I knew how the Constitution worked. I would know if Alex Jones was lying. And that everything that came out of the kid's mouth was valid. It really was. And then he went off on things I didn't even understand or know about, and I thought he was kind of crazy until that turned out to be true. And so he's been the tip of the spear, and he's like a bull in a china shop. And you got to understand my perception of Alex Jones. He's a force of nature. He can't stop what he's doing. Even if he wanted to, even if they chained him up, he would not stop. He's a force of nature. And I know a lot of people say, well, he interrupts people and stuff and criticize him. Just set that stuff aside. This guy has done more for the Patriot movement than anyone I've ever known. And even though the fascist, socialist, communist left will say that his site is a conspiracy theory site, there is no conspiracy theory there. He just tells the news, and he tells the truth. He puts things from a different perspective. And like everybody, we're not always right, but we try to do the best we can. And if we do find out that we said or done something that isn't correct, instead of fighting over it, we'll correct ourselves and move on. Because that's not what we're here for. It's not to who is going to be the star here. It's getting this information out. And that's all that the issue wants to do, is we want to make sure that we get this information out. And there's nothing more important than having a good, solid foundation. And you can't have any foundation until you sit and study history and understand what our founding fathers did here. I mean, when you take a look at the form of government they came up with, I don't know how they could have possibly got it from their minds. It had to come from some higher power. There's a book out called The 5,000-Year Leap. You can Google that. If you get a chance, order it. It's well worth reading. It's going to give you a good understanding of how the founding fathers came to the conclusion of how they were going to set the government up in such a way that if the sovereign, the people, make sure that those who are working for them, serve them, follow that law, I mean, we would be, like I said, we became the most powerful and prosperous nation on the face of the earth since King Solomon. And now, we did that in 138 years, and now we're completely falling apart. And it isn't because capitalism is a bad thing or the Constitution and the founders are bad things. It's because of these people who are pushing bullshit. And the Democrats push more bullshit than any other party on the face of this earth. They are no good slime ball pieces of crap who want to push a failed communist system, socialistic system that has never worked, and I said it over and over again, over 100 million people were killed under it. And this is what these people, the form of government that they want to put us under. Now, the schools and the colleges have become nothing but socialist, communist, fascist propaganda dumping grounds. All they do is poison our children's minds with mindless socialist, communist rhetoric. Socialism is the philosophy of failure, the creed of ignorance, and the gospel of envy. Its inherent virtue is the equal sharing of misery. Now, that was said by Winston Churchill. And I found that to be the best definition of socialism that I could find anywhere. And this ridiculously stupid system that always turns into a dictatorship where millions of people die is what these goddamn Democrats want to shove down all of our throats. Now, it's time that when you see somebody who's a Democrat, you challenge them. This is not a democracy, you idiot. Communism and socialism are the same thing. The only difference between the two is that communism is socialism by force. And fascism is when you tack the corporations on top of there that run the whole show and tell everybody what they can do, what they can see, eat, breathe, or whatever. Now, this is an information war. And believe it or not, we are winning big time. And it's because of what we're doing here at the issue, and there's a lot of other people doing it too. And hopefully, as long as we keep our information accurate and correct, then there's going to be something that each individual, each citizen, sovereign citizen, can do once they understand we can get these traitors, and they are traitors. They're committing insurrection, rebellion, and treason. They're the enemy. And they turn around and point their finger at anybody that they consider to be right-wing. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, you're either right or you're wrong. There's no left and right. There's only right and wrong. And the left is wrong. Well, anyway, that's my message for today. I am the Ghettoman, and I thank you for watching. And remember, if you're politically correct, then you're legally wrong. See you next time.